I'm Jim Eskin, founder of Eskin Fundraising Training, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this webcast on the topic of lessons in leadership. It is being produced in collaboration with TVSA, which is the public access station for San Antonio, and it will be shown locally, and then through our learning community that we connect through Constant Contact and social media. We will be sharing this with an audience of volunteer and professional nonprofit leaders from all around the country. Let me first say to all of you in the nonprofit community, we really love you. You every day do something profound to touch, improve, and save more lives, especially helping those who are struggling. And today we want to help you become even more successful, so we have a distinguished panel of 3 nonprofit leaders who have very different stories, so I'm going to introduce in a moment. I'm going to play a little history game. On August 28, 1963, Martin Luther King challenged America to get on the right side of history, not by saying, "I have a strategic plan." He said something else. What did he say?
I have a dream.
I have a dream. And I think when you get down to it, dreams are at the heart of social change, of good causes, and of the passion of nonprofit. And the bigger the dreams, the better. And nonprofit leaders, like the 3 we have today with us, they do not shirk from dreams, they welcome them. And they welcome hard work. So let me state for the record, we have 3 shining members of our learning community who have agreed to put up with me, which is not an easy deal. And I might say they were not picked by accident, and I have to admit I'm not unbiased. I'm a big fan of each of them. I've seen them work, and I think they represent the very best of nonprofit leadership. And I'm going to call on them in alphabetical order. We have a lot of questions. And again, I want to thank you for the most valuable gift of all, your time. I always say that actually as you get older, you realize that time is more valuable than money, because unlike money, you can never replace time. First of all, we have the inaugural Executive Director of the Assistance League of San Antonio, Marcy Andrade. Welcome, Marcy.
Thank you, Jim. It's good to be here.
Next, we have Christine Crowley, who's the Executive Director of the Burning Community Theater. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you. I love being here.
Well, we love having you here. And finally, it's the lady that will never say no. And we met, several years ago, and out of the blue, she said she wanted to start a nonprofit. I said, "You know how much work you got to do?" She said, "Bring it on." And guess what? She has just accomplished amazing things. My good friend Jasmine Dean, who is the founder and CEO of Celebrate Dyslexia. Hello, Jasmine.
Hi, Jim.
Unlike our normal webinars, this is not interactive. So if you're part of our learning community audience listening from afar, you will not have the opportunity to ask a question or share a comment. Okay, I have a lot of questions, and when the clock ticks at 47, I got to transfer for my questions. Each of you have been kind enough to bring some props with you, and I'll tell you what, I want to be careful, and I might need your help. I don't want everyone going in the same order, because I think it's going to be kind of tougher to go third, and find something fresh to say. So whoever is last first will be first the next time, if I can keep that straight in my head, and I don't make any promises. My first question is, and I'll start with Marcy, we're going in alphabetical order. Tell us about the formation, the mission, the vision, the values, and the work of the Assistance League of San Antonio.
Okay.
And feel free to use your props.
Okay, well, I did bring several props because the Assistance League does many wonderful things for the community of San Antonio and Bexar County. The Assistance League has been around since 1984 here in San Antonio.
How far back does it go nationally?
Well, San Antonio, it's 40th year. So this is our Ruby celebration.
Mazel tov.
Yes, we're excited about that. We just celebrated our 40th year. So it's our Ruby year. We're very excited about that. And we are so excited because we celebrate children. And when the way we celebrate children are through two of our premier programs, our Togs for Tots and our Operation School Bell. And it's appropriate that I'm here today because school has just started. And our Operation School Bell works with Title I schools throughout Bexar County to clothe children who maybe need a little help. And we work specifically with the school districts and counselors to identify students who may need a little help. Maybe a parent is experiencing some struggles, and the children may need some clothing, and they come to our facility, our newly renovated, this is about to happen, our newly renovated program center, the Harvey Najum Program Center.
I love that
And
name.
I know, we do too. And they get to shop for 2 outfits, a brand new pair of shoes, they get fitted, a package of underwear, some new socks, 2 pairs of pants, brand new tops with tags on them, a jacket when the weather gets cooler, and a brand new pair of shoes. And, they get to pick that out for themselves alongside one of our member volunteers who gets to assist them with that. They walk out with this nice bag with these products with them, as well as a hygiene kit that is branded
Why
with
don't you
our...
show, what's in the hygiene kit?
The hygiene kit has a brush, it has toothpaste, shampoo, deodorant. We work with kids from pre-K or K through 5th grade. And then it has a toothbrush in there, it has soap.
By the way, I like that bag.
Isn't it a great bag?
Yeah, because it's small enough, but you can get a lot of things in it.
Yeah. So each child walks out with one of these, and if the children are not able to come to the school, we do pre-package them and work with the counselors at the schools, and then they are able to pick those up. So it's just been a really great opportunity for the kids to get their needs met. We have really great relationships with the counselors at the school and some of the principals and the teachers. And then we have our Togs for Tots program, and we work with infants through community agencies, everything from foster care agencies through city agencies, through other agencies in the community, and that's from infant through age 4. So they get the smaller newborn to infant to toddlers, and they also get much of the same type of thing, small outfits, and they also get underwear and socks, just really cute brand new items for the little tykes. And that way the parents feel good about having children that have brand new items. And let's not forget, the kids get age appropriate books. This is a book that has various stories. So every night they can have a story read to them, where they can read it for themselves. And then the little ones get a book as well. Because learning is important, right, at any age. So we want them to start early, and age appropriate is very important. So we want to ensure that happens. And then we also have some adult programs. We offer scholarships to adults to continue their education. We also have a CAPS program that for those going through maybe cancer treatment. And we have volunteers, or members as they are, who come in and design caps or crochet or knit caps so that they can experience, after hair loss, have that covered, as well as some blankets, so that when they're going through treatment or experience hair loss, that they're kept warm. So just some really great programs.
Thank you. Let's move on. No, you used up your time.
I want to...
Okay, let's move on to Christine Crowley.
Okay.
Christine, tell us about the formation, the mission and vision and values, and the work of Bernie Community Theater.
Okay. Well, back in 1991, some of the folks in Bernie, I'm thinking of Dolores Littlejohn in particular, who has passed since, decided they wanted to start a theater group. And so they started doing a couple of shows a year in what was then the Bernie Area Community Center.
Yeah.
It's now a YMCA. And so we were the Backdoor Theater, BACC. Eventually, we moved into a storefront on North Main Street, 50 mostly uncomfortable seats, 2 bathrooms for everybody, not much of a backstage area, but it was ours.
One men's and one ladies?
Yes.
And I know that's a killer for the ladies. There's always lines behind the ladies.
Well, and if you were backstage during the show and you had to go, you had to sneak out, you know. It was,
Yeah. Okay,
So
okay.
we were there from 97 until 2007, when we were able to, we purchased a building in Bernie in a great location. We had to do some renovations, although when we first walked in, my predecessor said, we could do a show in here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Well, it was more like 18 months. But we had to do some renovations and get it up to snuff, so to speak. It had had a colorful history, starting off as a feed and grain store, then it was a couple of dive bars, then it was an after-school program that a pastor had, and finally we bought the building from him, and we've been there ever since. Bernie Community Theater is 33 years old now. We made it through the pandemic. We're still
I
struggling.
bet that wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't easy, but fortunately, we were in Kendall County, which was able to open up a little more. The percentage of cases of COVID was a lot less than Bexar County. So we have continued. Our mission is to entertain, educate, and enrich the community. By doing that, we do remind ourselves constantly that we are a community theater.
Did you bring some props with you?
I did. So what we do in entertaining, educating, and enriching, we present performances. We have programs for youth through seniors. Some of them are readers' theater for seniors. We have an academy after-school class for toddlers through early teens. We have a teen troupe. We have the adult theater, of course. We're very busy all year. But props. So what are props? Props are things that help us entertain, put a point across. Obviously, in theater, props can include things like wigs. I'm not sure I could even figure out how to put this one on. Somebody else selected it for me. I had to pick it up today. But wigs, making you a different character. And we just had an occasion where someone wore a wig in a play that I directed, and it was the transformation, because she had to appear younger, was incredible. I hardly recognized her. It was
Wow.
really amazing. Other props. Well, of course, we do makeup.
You know, let's stop there because
Excuse me.
I've been curious if I should experiment with makeup, so I'm really listening. If anyone ever needed makeup, it's this guy,
Well,
okay?
I'm very pale, too. I'm a pale
Yeah.
Irish person. Can't keep lipstick on, but I think I have enough color today. But, you know, just in case I don't, I can do this. See?
Yeah.
I can even see myself. So makeup can be, and we're in a small theater, so really your everyday
Last
makeup
question.
works.
The reason
Yes.
I'm afraid, I'm remembering God. I'm going to date myself. Richard Nixon in 1960,
Oh,
and
yes,
he's
yes,
sweating,
with the beard
and I
and the
sweat
sweating.
very easily.
Yeah.
Are there ways you can apply makeup you don't have to worry about sweating?
I know plenty of people who do sweat on stage,
Yeah.
usually the head down. Yes, you can. You want to be careful with makeup that you don't use something that's going to run and really look unattractive. That's a bad idea. Powder will
Yeah.
help. Men tend to sweat more on stage than women. I'm not sure just why that is, but they do.
We're worrying about women.
Yeah, okay. Makeup can also be beyond this. I mean, we did a show this last year called Copper Angel, and it was about the doctor who helped in World War I soldiers whose faces had been disfigured because of mustard gas and things like that. And an artist worked with him to create masks that they could wear to sort of complete their face. It was quite a play. It was a prize winner in a contest, and so they asked us to produce it, and we did. So many people have remarked to me, wow, that play, I wish you could do something like that again. And it was not a comedy. It was not the sort of thing we usually do. But so many people, and this is unsolicited, have told me how much it resonated with them. Another prop, because not everybody in the theater is on stage. What do you do backstage when you're working in the dark and you have to be able to see where you're going? You need a flashlight. Usually the ones we have are bigger. I brought something smaller. But so much goes together to put on a performance. Somebody's running lights and sound. Somebody is managing the stage, making sure the actors know their cues and get out there on stage. Someone is directing the play at the beginning. I have done that. I'm an actor and director. To make sure that there's a big picture perspective on the production.
Right.
We have also stepped out into the community to offer actors, well, I'll just put it this way. The law enforcement agencies in Kendall County and Bernie know us very well.
How come?
It's not because we're bad people. It's because we have provided actors for training for them. Active shooter training,
And for the
domestic
record,
disturbances.
as a prop, I asked you to bring a fake knife.
Yeah, you
and
did.
you didn't because you didn't trust me. And I think your judgment was good.
Yeah, I didn't want to come in with a fake knife or a fake gun and have somebody stop me at the door. So yeah, we have done a lot of that, and we've worked with the sheriff's office, police, the fire department, EMS. They all know us very well, and they absolutely love the theater because it's really helped them do the kind of training that they need to do in modern policing.
Thank you. Okay, Jasmine. Again, the question is, you're founder and CEO of Celebrate Dyslexia. Can you take a couple of minutes, and I might butt in, but to describe the formation, the mission, the vision, the values, and you too brought a couple of visuals.
Sure. So I really came into the space as a mother of 3 young men with dyslexia, and I really didn't know anything about it. My husband is also a physician. He didn't know anything about it. We just saw our oldest really suffer through his elementary school years. And when we finally heard the word dyslexia and started wrapping our heads around what this was and what it meant for him, as well as a pathway forward for us in supporting him, we tried to find our people locally. And it was really hard to find our people locally. So there were a couple of organizations in Austin that we started driving to Austin to be a part of, and someone
That can
asked
be a
me,
very long drive.
someone asked what I thought was missing, and I told her, just with my professional background, I wished that there was a space, knowing that 1 in 5 people have this.
Did
There
you
was
repeat that?
Up to 1 in 5 people have
That
dyslexia.
just blows my mind when you
Yeah.
first briefed me. 1 in 5.
Yep.
That's a whole lot.
And that really, if individuals get the support that they need, they can be extremely successful. And
Can you mention some of the famous people who have dyslexia?
So, modern day famous people that have been public about their dyslexia would be Whoopi Goldberg. We know Steve Jobs had dyslexia.
Wow.
Many of the sharks have dyslexia. So it really is an excellent space for an out-of-the-box thinker, someone who's extremely innovative, but unfortunately that also comes with this unexpected difficulty with reading, writing, and
Yeah.
spelling. And so as
And
my...
could you explain, if I had dyslexia, is it the words and letters are kind of jumbled? What is it like to have dyslexia?
Well, it's different for everybody, but the generality is it's a language processing
Yeah.
disorder. Some people would say it's a different ability, if we want to talk about it in a strength-based way. But ultimately, unless you're given an extremely foundational way of learning how to match your letters and sounds, and really understanding the structured aspect of our language and how to build words from very basic steps, you really never master reading and writing English, which can be very debilitating, especially for a smart person as they progress through their academic career.
It must make it impossible to read.
Correct.
How can you, and that's like taking your right arm away and learning.
Correct. And so with identification comes accommodations, interventions, but we do know that they are most effective if the interventions and accommodations are given at an early age. So
How early are you talking about?
we know from research that if you get intervention by the age of 9,
Yeah.
you can find academic success.
Wow.
Really, after the age of 9, 75% of those that get intervention will never read at grade level. So what I can't say often enough to families is time is not a luxury when it comes to reading acquisition. The earlier, the better. It's very much like a cancer for your academic career. So the earlier you identify, the earlier you intervene, the better your outcomes will be. So we started Celebrate Dyslexia because we wanted to find a space to enjoy our children and talk about their strengths. So it started with an exhibit at the Museum, which led to a partnership with the Magic Theater and a development of an original play called Eddie and Vinny about a young man who had dyslexia. And what is so important about our high-profile event space is that it provides non-threatening spaces for all stakeholders to learn about dyslexia and have this conversation. So our next high-profile event is a collaboration with San Antonio Sports and their Read to the Final Four, which, as we know, next year we will be hosting the Final Four here in San Antonio. So the bracketed competition of reading and minutes of reading in our third grade classes will be ultra inclusive this year with graphic novels, audiobooks, counting. Our second initiative is a medical initiative. It is a neurobiological condition in the brain. It is a social determinant of health. While our kids were developing height and weight wise, there was something that was really stunting their success on a daily basis. And if looking for dyslexia as a part of a well-child visit, they can partner, much like with scoliosis, with schools to have earliest possible identifications. It also leads to accessibility for adults who are never identified with dyslexia, that they can get the diagnosis they need for workplace accommodations and that kind of thing. And then our third initiative is an education initiative that really just started with a Dyslexia 101 in our community and has morphed into meeting the needs of stakeholders that we were hearing. We now have an official partnership with UTSA to impact teacher prep. We're working with juvenile probation and making sure that some of our students that are in the system get the identifications that they have not received. And we also were able to launch a tuition-free charter school that just welcomed students for the first time. So this is my charter that was approved.
When did that charter school launch?
So it just opened last Monday. We're in our second
excellent.
week.
Wow.
Yes. And we get to
You're kicking the tires.
we get to incubate our school model at the museum, our first partner. So we're so excited to be able to welcome students who traditionally struggle in school. And every single one of our teachers is an academic language therapist in training, weaving that throughout all core curriculum subjects so that every student can keep all their academic doors open.
Wow. Okay, if I remember correctly, the third one goes first this time, and then we're going back. And also, I'm going to allow you to get in the point you missed. By the way, my bucket list, in my dreams, I would love to moderate a presidential debate, but not this year, okay? Not with this crowd.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jasmine, what would you say? It's going to be tough. What are your proudest accomplishments?
Well, I would say some of the things that I've already mentioned.
You can repeat it
Okay.
quickly.
Our local partners
Yeah.
are so significant because
Name some of them, please.
So the Museum, the Magic Theater, San Antonio Sports, UTSA, Bexar County, these are extenders.
This
into
is a
the
big chunk of
community.
the community.
Extenders into the community, and I would say also now I would consider the state of Texas, Texas Education Agency, one of those partners as well in creating systemic change so that hopefully the work that we do expands to other campuses and becomes normal.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, if I have my memory correct, Christine, you're next.
Yeah.
What would you say are your proudest accomplishments at the Bernie Community Theater?
Well, I would say that the theater, I know that we have a very robust youth program, and that is so important because
And
as
by
a
the way, define youth. What age bracket?
well, we have things for toddlers
Yeah.
through age 19,
Okay.
kids,
That's
teenagers.
a big
Yeah, we have the
range.
academy, we have the drama camps in the summer, and then we have all year, we have a teen troupe. As a theater that depends on having a paying audience, you need to develop that audience. Audiences grow older, they die off, they move away, and you need that next generation coming. If you can get them while they're young, like you say. It's amazing to me watching these kids grow who maybe take a little academy class and then they get into the drama camp and they might want to be in the back row of the musical singing and
Yeah.
dancing the first year. 2 years later, they have the lead. One of the things I'm especially proud of is watching some specific individuals, and I'm thinking we've had some kids on the spectrum who have been enormously successful, and their parents are very grateful to see the growth. They find a place, they feel safe, they make friends, they can express themselves comfortably, and watching them gain poise and make friends and perform, it's been amazing. One of my most favorite stories is there was a mother that wanted to bring her son, who was about 10, to the academy. This is a once-a-week after-school thing. He did not want to get out of the car. Very reluctant to come in. Our youth programs director, who happens to be my best friend, came out and talked to him a bit, finally cajoled him into coming inside, and he participated a little bit. What he really wanted to do, when they found out, was he wanted to be able to create material to perform. He wanted to write stuff.
Yeah.
So she had them working on putting some of their own little monologues and skits together. Okay, fast forward. Just last year, he ended up stepping onto stage twice in 2 different parts for a teen troupe production that we had where a couple of kids had gotten ill. I was stunned that this was the same
your fist
kid,
on that one,
the
Dave.
same kid that didn't want to get out of the car.
Wow.
Probably 7 years before that. He's delightful, and he was wonderful on stage.
You know,
He's
I think it's great
volunteered
about
with us.
that. Once you overcome a huge fear, that means other fears. You can tell yourself, I can overcome
yes.
them too.
If I can do this, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So watching these kids grow up through and some of them have been performing in our regular plays, just growing that pool of talent and seeing how much they grow and have become educated about teamwork, public speaking, learning some of the skills backstage, running the lights, helping with costumes. I think it really does great things for them.
Yeah.
And it really, it's a way for them to find success in later life.
Okay, Marcy, I think I rudely cut you off. I'm going to add 10 seconds because you had an additional point before we move on to the first question, before we move on to the second question, okay?
Okay, thank you, Jim. I just wanted to say we also have a wonderful school-based program where our members, which are volunteers, go into schools to talk to children at the elementary level. It's a program called I'm in Charge, and it's kind of a stranger danger type program and just talks about personal safety and self-empowerment. And there's a booklet that goes along with that, and it's just been very popular, and it really is self-empowering to these children and helps them feel empowered to say no if they're walking home and someone asks them something, helps them recognize danger, helps them feel empowered to tell an adult no when you've been taught to mind your elders.
Right.
And so, or to stick up for a friend who's being bullied, to recognize
We need
danger.
more of that.
Right. So it's just a really popular program. So that's just one other thing that our members do. And, we're a very small staff of 3 that are paid staff.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, I'm the inaugural executive director. So, yes. And so everyone else are members and volunteers, and they do the work of plenty. So, so this has been great. It's been great.
What now, what would you say? This is your Ruby 40th anniversary.
Anniversary of the Assistance
Over
League.
the 40 years, what would you call some of your proudest accomplishments?
Well, I think just taking the step at hiring an executive director is a big step.
They sure hired the right one, by the
Well,
way.
thank you. I think that was a big step at wanting to professionalize the staff. Not that, they come with a wealth of diverse professional experience, everything from military backgrounds to former CEOs to, they come with a gamut of wealth and experience, but just wanting to have that consistency and that continuity in staff, because the members, if they're in a leadership position or a board membership position, every year or two they roll off, and so they wanted to have that continuity, and so I was hired for that. So I think that was part of their success, and then just wanting to grow, having that new Harvey Najum program center is going to help build that capacity because it's specific to our programs. So I think that's a great step in growth, as well as our thrift house, which, brings in a lot of money.
Can you say you can get some bargains there?
And we do.
And don't
the
you shop
community
there?
does.
I mean, before you were a staff member, you have,
Before I was hired, I did visit the thrift house.
and you got some bargains, right?
I got some bargains, and it was my intro into learning about the Assistance League. And yes, I learned about what they stood for, and so it made me feel good to give back to a wonderful
Do
organization
you
that
have, by
supports children.
any chance, if you have any blue pinstripe suits and a 42 short?
I'm sure we do, and if we don't, I'm sure one will come in. But I did bring really quickly.
Yeah.
I brought just one of the things that I've been eyeballing. Are some actual sterling silver
Wow.
Ooh, wow.
candlesticks. These are sterling silver. They're not silver plated. They're sterling silver. And
Can we start the bidding between the three of us here?
these are things, and they're very reasonable. We're not greedy. We want to move things.
How much are these priced at?
These are priced at $40, and these would go for a lot more. They're silver. They're heavy. So
Let me feel that. Andrea?
heavy.
What do you think? Okay.
I'm not trying to sell them here today. I'm just showing you some of the valuable things. We have name brand items, beautiful items. And on Tuesday morning, there's a line outside the building of folks wanting to come in to look for furniture and clothing and rugs and, housewares. I mean, it's become very popular. And the money raised goes right to the children, back into our program. So it feels good. It really does.
Well, now I'm confused. We haven't started with Christine.
Yeah.
So let's see, we start, pick on you. I'm very good at picking on guests. That's why I think I make a great moderator. What would you say is the toughest challenge you've had to overcome?
Oh, I was afraid I'd get that question.
Besides this show, by the way.
We had a tough time getting through the pandemic, although we did do it. I had a personnel situation which I let go on for too long out of compassion for someone, and only after I finally succumbed to the pressure of the board to let someone go did we become fully cognizant of how bad some things were financially. And
Bad place to have a problem, by the way.
yeah, it's a bad place to have a problem. And so the business manager and I spent a great deal of time over 2023 pulling us out of a hole. We're looking out of the hole on the edge, and things are looking better this year. But it was having too much compassion. I mean, that shouldn't be a problem, but it was. And it was tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was tough to do, and I finally just had to bite the
I
bullet.
think, 40 years later, over a career, I think of everyone I've had to fire.
Yeah.
I so love promoting and hiring people.
Yeah.
But It is what it is.
Yeah. So we're doing better now. It's been a real learning experience, and I was lucky that I had someone to put into that position. And I made sure I did before I let that person go, because bringing in someone from the outside, probably they would have run screaming into the night when they saw what we were dealing with. Fortunately,
By the way,
I
this
didn't
won't
have to
make you
do
feel
that.
any better. I know a lot of nonprofits. Financial management is their kryptonite. That's where they
Yes.
experience the most problems.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it constantly at the board meetings, because no matter how many people are in the audience, the royalty cost, the script cost, the production costs remain the same.
That's why you prefer to have a packed house, right?
That's why we prefer to have a packed house, that makes a tough thing. And so I was just looking at this huge spreadsheet that we have from 2010 on to right now, with all of the shows we've done and what the attendance was. And we're looking at that to see what the patterns are, because as we plan for future seasons, we want to be able to pick a good balance of shows that will entertain, educate, enrich, things that people will want to come see, that actors will want to perform. And can be tricky. We're in a conservative community, so there's some material that we will probably never do.
By the way, I remember reading a review of one of the plays you directed in the Express News.
Oh, dear.
And it said, kudos to Christine Crowley for leading in the salty language. And I yelled to Andrea, I know Christine Crowley. No way she's going to take out salty language.
That's funny.
Well, that's an issue, and if you're going to do a show with, I find the phrase salty language is a little bit easier for people to digest than adult language or something
Yeah.
like that. If you're going to do that, and you have to really, legally, it's supposed to be performed as written, then you need to be sure that your audience knows that, and if
And
somebody's
by the way,
going to
can I
be
interrupt?
offended, they can stay.
I'm going to sound a little naive, but, I watch the news constantly. And where have I been? I am just stunned that you almost can say anything, on 24-hour network television. It seems you can say anything.
Well, I noticed when network television shows started going over to streaming services.
And I'm talking about
the
news.
language changed.
Yeah.
They had the broadcast networks were still not allowing that kind of language. I'm thinking of one in particular I was watching last night. And when they moved to Paramount, suddenly they were talking like members of a SEAL team. When they were on CBS, it was cleaner. Yeah. So things have changed a great deal. And, we're never going to do a show that's full of F-bombs, for instance. Our audience doesn't want that. And
Yeah.
it's tough, but occasionally, if you're doing a modern show, you're going to have some language or
Yeah.
content issues, and so we try to be very careful to
Out of
market that
curiosity?
properly.
Do you have any nudity guidelines?
Well, that hasn't come up. We probably ought to. We have policies regarding sexual harassment and things like that, and that actors and directors will sign an agreement at the beginning of
You
a
got
production.
kissing, don't you?
Pardon?
You got kissing, don't you?
We do. It's amazing to me how many people will not take a role if they have to kiss.
Really?
It's usually men. My wife will be upset. And I thought, it's acting,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
we do. But we have one of our board members, our artistic director, has taken the classes on intimacy coaching
Yeah.
so that he can work with someone. If they have to kiss, they can mask it. They can find ways so that they don't really lock lips.
Where I come from, it's
especially.
called a bad kiss.
or touching,
Yeah.
So we do discuss that
Yeah.
at the beginning,
Yeah.
so that everybody knows
Okay.
that we're all on the same page.
We're learning stuff here.
Yeah.
Okay, Jasmine, what would you say, and you can't say nothing, what is the toughest challenge you have encountered?
Well, it's such a great question, because when you have a baby nonprofit,
Yeah.
I think just the process of building capacity, moving from a founding board to now we're in a growth mindset board. We're not just a startup anymore. We're moving into growth. And what does that look like? And what's expected of the roles? And what does the organization look like? And what do employees of the organization expect as the organization grows? It's not a volunteer organization, and it shouldn't be for the work that we're doing. So I think that's.
By the way, give me a fist bump. I love that. I think more nonprofits have to recognize that.
So that's the normal process of going from, startup to growth. But I think just having the heart of a founder, really trying to stay in the systems level change space and not feeding all of the fish has to be an intentional decision and a difficult one.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be in this space if I didn't want everyone's suffering to be alleviated in this space. So going into the trench is difficult, but it's important.
Yeah.
It's important to be able to do that as well.
Yeah. Okay, Marcy, what do you think is the toughest challenge you have encountered?
Well, I think being the inaugural executive director
You're
has
kind
been
of the
the
George
toughest
Washington,
challenge.
right? You're the George Washington of the assistants.
Well,
League.
I mean, come on, but it has been because it's been a little bit of a challenge in that it's finding your lane. It's treading lightly, treading not so lightly. It's finding that balance.
We also would say going in the uncharted waters.
Exactly. So yeah, that's what I'd say. I know that sounds like a simple answer, but it's the truth. And just trying to find a happy balance and meeting so many different people with different ideas and finding, where that balance is really, So that has been a challenge.
I think we'll start with you, if I have my
Sure.
sequence correctly. And remember, your bosses might not be watching. They could be watching, okay? But how many hours a week do you think you devote to being the executive director of the Assistants League of San Antonio?
Well, I work the typical 8 to 5, and then Plus. So definitely, you'll see me there on a weekend. I
Yeah.
like it because it's quiet and.
They get your phone number. They can call you at night, right?
Yes.
They sure called me when I was an executive director.
Sometimes I do get a call. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't clocked. I'm salaried, so I don't.
Yeah.
But it varies.
Yeah.
It varies from week to week, and
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it, so I'm happy to do it.
Christine, your question. Your turn. How many hours a week do you think you devote to your position?
I have to laugh about this because my position is
Does your husband
technically-
ever see you?
hardly is technically part-time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, technically.
You're the hardest working part-timer I ever
Well,
met.
but it's really 24/7. Sometimes I get the calls at night. Well, because it's a theater, we have a lot of activity at night. If I'm directing a play, I try to go up just in the afternoon and then stay for the evening. If I have things in the morning to do, the obligations or whatever, then it's kind of tough. So I directed a play this season. I didn't the one before, and because sometimes I have 12-hour days, and I'm just getting too old for that. I probably put in. Well, I work a lot at home too, so it's kind of hard to say. I should
Right, it
keep a little
varies.
diary one day. There are weeks.
Sounds like you're more than part-time.
Well, there are weeks when I go to the theater 7 days in a row.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's part-time.
that's part-time.
you
I'm
know,
in and out.
I shudder to think what if you were full-time.
Well, a lot of what
You would
I
sleep
do
there.
is out in the community. I'm an ambassador with the Chamber of Commerce.
Everybody knows you and Bernie. I know that for
well,
a fact.
I belong to the Hill Country Women in Business, so I've got 2 groups where I get to see, and some of that is an overlap there, obviously, but so when I go to Bernie, I will always see somebody I know at the HEB. I live in
Yeah.
far western San Antonio, but I work in Bernie. It's a 30-mile drive each way, so I don't get to run home for lunch or something like that. So when I go, I go. Yeah, my husband and the dogs go, "Oh, who are you?" when I come home. Yeah.
In that order, by
Once
the way.
I looked this week, I have Thursday where I have nothing on my calendar. That's the one day that I'm not going to Bernie for something or another. So,
Thank God
yeah.
for Thursday, right?
When I retired from my full-time job at a college, I wanted to spend more time at the theater, and now I spend almost
Be
all of my
careful
time.
what you wish for.
Yes, exactly.
Jasmine, I'm
Yeah.
going to shudder to ask the question to you. How many hours a week do you think you devote to celebrate dyslexia?
I think I've gotten a lot better since the beginning, where
Really?
it really was from the moment I woke up
24/7.
to the moment I went to sleep. I've realized as we've added staff, it's important for me to be the role model, that this really shouldn't be a toxic work environment, that we have to have a healthy balance. And it's really important to those that are closest to me that I honor
You've ducked
them
the
as
question,
well.
the answer about how many hours in the beginning, or now what year is this? The fifth year?
This is the 5th year. There really was no moment that I wasn't working. If I
Wow.
was
That's a lot of time, by the way.
sitting with my family watching TV, I was on my phone. I
You
was
just
on the
can't turn your
computer.
brain off. It might come, here's what Celebrate Dyslexia should do. I mean,
Which, that's a whole separate show.
yeah.
Because honestly, it isn't
You don't turn
sustainable.
off this, thinking about
don't.
your passion.
But it's important to stay grounded with
Yeah.
your loved ones. And
Yeah.
I think that's something that I've really tried to get better at.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
I
do
need
that
help
too.
in that area too. I teach fundraising. What's your experience been with fundraising? What do you enjoy? What don't you enjoy? And then we'll go to Christine and Marcy.
So, especially for a new nonprofit, it's the long game, not the short. You have to
Give me a fist. That's one of my lines.
you have to lead by example. And I think when I started, Philanthropitch was really popular in the community.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Their big push was, how are you going to sustain yourself like a business would? What product, what earned revenue are you going to be able to sustain at least your operations with? And so that's really what I have focused on for Celebrate Dyslexia, for it to be sustainable through earned revenue. And that has allowed me time to really build relationships
That's
with
right.
donors.
And
balance
can
that.
you give me an approximate split between your earned and contributed income?
So it changes every year, but this year I think we've got 60% of our budget is earned revenue.
And by the way, funders are going to love that.
Well, and it's important to sustain, especially a growing staff,
Yeah.
that we aren't adding additional positions that aren't supported with what the market is telling us is needed.
Christine, what is your attitude and experience with fundraising? What do you like? What don't you like?
Oh, well, it's always the asking. Yeah, and we're dealing with that
What's
right
the matter
now.
with the asking, by the way? Now tell me.
It's scary. You don't want to hear no. I have asked. I can, but yeah, it's not my favorite thing. Some people are better at it than I am. Our big push
First
is
of all,
happening.
kudos to you for recognizing weaknesses.
Yes,
as your
yes.
coach, that's one thing I want to hear.
Yeah.
That you're honest with yourself.
We depend on, well, let me say this. I don't know of any theater that gets by on ticket sales alone. You simply can't. You could double your prices, we could charge $50 a seat, but we wouldn't have an audience. So you sell concessions, you sell branded merchandise, you hold small fundraisers. Our big one is in October. It's the Hill Country's Got Talent, and this is the 8th year we've been doing it, and it grows each year. We have auditions.
We've been
we
to
have
that.
people come to that, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's been more successful each year. It's a ton of work. Fortunately, we have a volunteer she's off the board now, but she is coordinating that effort. She has the time and the talent to do that, but everybody on the board has a job for that event. And it really forces us to really take a look at what does it cost to run the theater? How are we going to make that money so we can sustain ourselves?
Probably that period in which you didn't have good data must have made that life crazy. Because you didn't know the baseline.
It was a challenge.
Nice words.
Yeah. We overcame it. I mean, we're dealing with it. Things are still very tight. But we have a wonderful business manager who projects ahead. She knows what we're going to be owing and when it needs to be paid and how much money is going to be coming in. And if it isn't coming in, what do we do? So we're getting more creative about finding revenue streams besides ticket sales and concessions. Really, we put a lot of energy into the Hill Country's Got Talent, and it's paid off, but it won't be the only thing we do this year to raise funds, because we're there. That's where we are.
Yeah. Okay, Marcy, what's your attitude towards fundraising? What do you like? What do you less than like?
I don't mind making an ask.
How come?
If you've done the cultivation piece,
And by the way, for
and all
our
I can say
audience,
is no.
for the audience, cultivation is the way that you create a personal, emotional bond between the donor prospect and the mission of the organization. Keep on going.
So I don't mind hearing no, because
It's not the
there's-
end of the
it's
world.
not,
No.
and it doesn't mean, it means no right now.
Right. And by the way, I reject that people can't take no. I don't know how you're a leader in any discipline without hearing no. You know, I hear no and at least 3 times a day. And that's
look at-
on a good day.
Yeah, I look at it as a challenge for the next time.
Yeah.
What I don't enjoy is the grant writing process, because
Yeah.
I
Oh,
always
yeah.
feel anxious that
Yeah.
am I waste.
You know what
of work.
drove me crazy? You know, one thing was writing the case for appeal, then they asked for like 1,000 addendums
Right.
and attachments.
It feels
Yeah.
like I'm
You spend more time on that
Yes.
than the grant development.
correct. So that's not my
Go
favorite.
ahead, Christine.
I have felt when I was filling out a big one for a foundation that a lot of the questions made me feel like I was putting a square peg in a round hole. They wanted to know if we had dues. They wanted to.
Yeah.
They were using language where I couldn't quite figure out what it was they wanted to know, and I had to make a few phone calls to say, could you clarify
Yeah.
what this is?
Smart move.
Because we're a different kind of nonprofit from service-oriented nonprofits.
Okay, we're getting the signal, we're running down.
Okay.
This is going to be the quickie round, and we'll start with Jasmine. Try to keep it to 90 seconds. What advice do you have for a nonprofit leader that's considering starting a new organization or a new project?
So don't do it unless you're the only one in this space.
That's the advice I think I gave you.
But it's
But you rejected it, thank God.
because I couldn't find anyone else in the space.
Yeah.
But try to partner with other people. The more you work
Key.
with others, not only the more successful you'll be in your grant funding and possible donor acquisitions, but it's really, especially in a community like ours, there's so much good work already happening. If there's anyone remotely close in the space, try to work with them and see if you can accomplish your goals.
Okay. Okay, what advice, Christine, do you have for someone who's foolish or bravehearty enough to want to start a new organization or launch a new project with an existing organization?
Well, in my industry, so to speak, which is theater, I do see a lot of people on a Facebook group that ask, I'm starting a new theater group. What do I need to know? And I think, well, you need to have some startup funds. If you're going to be a nonprofit, you have to get your act together, find an attorney, and maybe an accountant, to get your 501c3 designation from the IRS. You can't apply for grants or take donations without that. And that's going to be very important. Making sure that you have a place to be. A lot of theaters rent a space, and then they're at the mercy of a landlord. And so if you lose the space and you're looking for yet another one, that can be a challenge. So having a board with collateral skills, whether it's legal, financial, a business mind, depending on what your agency is going to do, I think that's really important. It's not a one-man show.
Yeah.
It can't be.
Or women's show?
Yeah, or a woman show, right.
Yeah. Yeah. Marcy, what advice do you have for someone considering launching a new nonprofit, or they're in a nonprofit and they want to take on a new project?
Well, I admire these leaders here. I have no desire to really open my own nonprofit. Actually, I do, but I wouldn't do it. I think just gaining
Yet.
have an idea, but I would think just gain experience. I come from a nonprofit background where I started in communications, then I did programs, and then I got into development. So I feel really confident in knowing how to run a nonprofit or how a nonprofit works. So the more you can learn about how nonprofits work and how to manage one, I think you're ahead of the game. So if you can get into each of those areas and learn as much as possible, I think you'll be ahead of the game.
Yeah. Christine.
Get together with your other nonprofit leaders. In Bernie, we have a nonprofit lunch bunch, and the chamber has taken over kind of coordinating that. We're going to be meeting at our place in November. We move around and we see
Why
each other's
make the
sites.
same mistakes as someone else
Right,
did? Learn
learning
from their
to
mistakes.
make friends with your other CEOs and things. You can learn a lot.
Thank you, Marcy Andrade, inaugural Executive Director of the Assistance League of San Antonio, Christine Crowley, Executive Director of the Bernie Community Theater, Jasmine Dean, founder and CEO of Celebrate Dyslexia. I'm big fans of you all. I think you remind us of Abraham Lincoln's better angels of our nature, and you bring a knowing head and an honest heart to everything you do. And to our audience, I want to thank you, our learning community, each and every day, you all who might be an executive director, a director of development, a board chair, a board member, a volunteer, a donor. You're doing something to touch, improve, and save more lives. And you're the ones who inspire everything we do at Eskin Fundraising Training. Our mission is to help you be more successful. We look forward to resuming our interactive webinar series on Wednesday, September 18th, 4 to 5 p.m. Central Time. And again, everyone be well. Thank you to Marcy, Christine, and Jasmine. Thank you to all of those in the learning community. Thank you to TVSA. And thank you for watching.